Been a while since we've had a Let's Be Honest video, and since we're being honest, I never thought I'd be doing another book review. But here we are. I'm so excited to be honest about Sewing the Curve by Jenny Rushmore. Sewing the Curve is all about learning how to sew and is geared towards beginners and beginners who fit into the most underserved size bracket, curvy, or plus size, depending upon how you like to reference patterns with size inclusivity. Welcome, beginning sewists, to an amazing world of creating clothes that fit you, that you love. You're gonna love it here. So maybe you're wondering if this book is for you. And full disclosure, I was provided a copy of the book and asked to review it. But if you've spent any time here on my channel, you know you can ask me anything and I'll tell you how I honestly feel. If you haven't purchased Jenny Rushmore's first book, that's okay. This is not a continuation of the first book. If you're new to my Let's Be Honest review videos, they were created as a way to review patterns and now a couple of books using a rubric that helps me review aspects consistently. I wanted a way to neutrally review crucial elements and then give my opinion at the end. You can find links to some of them in the original overview video in the description. So let's get to it. This beginner's guide to sewing comes with 6 full-sized printed patterns with PDF downloads available. One amazing thing about this book is it is geared towards sizes 12 to 32 US sizes or 16 to 36 in the UK. I don't know of any other beginning sewing book that is written specifically for curvy sewists. There isn't much out there catering this underserved audience of sews, so if you're new to sewing and want to learn using patterns that will fit you, this book is the only one I know. I'm going to get right to the rubric since we can discuss things along the way. Number 1, target reader. Does the book deliver for the intended reader? Is the skill level accurate? Will the intended reader be satisfied with the content from what they saw in the book jacket? Absolutely. There is instruction to start your sewing journey from threading the machine to finishing your first garment. Plus, it includes patterns in sizes 12 to 32. The book jacket promises learning how to sew using patterns in the curvy size range. Check and check. Number 2, layout. Is there an index, table of contents, a glossary? Is it easy to find what you're looking for, especially while using any of the projects? Are there any heavy text blocks? Are there visuals and diagrams? The layout is simple and gorgeous and useful. One thing I like is how most of the skills needed to make the garments are in one section together. And while there are still step-by-step sewing instructions, there are easy references to these skills throughout with a symbol and a page number so you can easily refer back to these fundamental skills. One could even practice these skills using downloadable templates, and there's a link provided in the book. So like right here, you can see that it has this little symbol with a little S. So that means that it refers to a skill in the sewing skills section, like this. There isn't a table of contents for these, unfortunately. So you're gonna have to find, the bust starts. This is stay stitching, I'm assuming, and then this one is attaching the pocket. So if you're gonna look through these skills here, you might want to put some page numbers next to those once you're using the same ones. So this one here has stay stitching is right here, and then understitching the pocket here. So it's more like there's skills to build and kind of support the things that you're doing in the instructions. Here is the how to sew darts here, which is a pretty thorough explanation. Number 3, investment worthy. Is this a reference book? Will the reader be able to use it more than once? Is it a one and done book? Will the reader feel like they got their money's worth? I wouldn't call this a book a reference book, but there's plenty to reference in it. All the skills are things you will use for the rest of your sewing life. Not every sewing scenario is outlined here. It is geared to 6 very usable garments. All of these patterns look great as is, but if one gains experience, they're excellent launching off points for some creativity. And the sewing skills you learn are used in all sewing projects. They are fundamental to sewing garments. Plus, you can return to these patterns and make them over and over. And so these right here are the patterns, and you can flip to each one with these color codes. The whole book is color coded, but once you know, when you're in the pattern section, you'll know that each of these is one pattern here, and you can flip to it. And then there are finished measurements, line drawings, which are always my favorite thing when it comes to a pattern. The fabric requirements, what you need. This is like a metric and imperial and a metric there. That's why there's 3 charts. Pattern inventory, and then here you have the how to assemble the pattern pieces, which is really great. If you've never done that before, it can be a little confusing. And then there's cutting layouts, like how to get your best use of the fabric using the pattern pieces and the amount of fabric you've been told to buy. And then here are the sewing steps right here. And then there's usually 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 pictures of the garment that you're making throughout the book, actually. Here's another one, Randolph skirt. Here's the Eustace top. The Ardley pants. The Fairfax jacket. And the Elmley dress, which has a couple of views, sleeveless or with sleeves. And then that's all 6. And you'll see 5 back here. So I guess this is what I was talking about. There's 6 listed right here. But I wasn't sure if this was the sheath dress or the swing dress. Like, because that looked like a swing dress, but it's sleeveless. So I was like, oh, is that a sheath? So, and the pants aren't really featured in this photo. It's the shirt. So again, I was like, well, wait, I want to see these pants, So, and it's only the back view of the skirt. So I do feel like the pictures could feature the patterns more. There isn't one page, like there's this page here. But that's about it. That's about the closest you'll get to a group shot. And a lot of these don't have captions, so you're not sure, like, well, is that a pattern in the book or is it one of the cashmerette patterns? So it's not a big deal. But I think it would be nice to be able to know, like especially like this page right here. I was like, oh, these are things people are doing with the patterns in the book. These 3 are not in the book. These are other patterns that Cashmerette makes. And then this is one of the patterns in the book here. So yeah, am I being a little picky? Maybe. I've been around a while doing this. And again, like here, like, is this showcasing the pants or the top or both? Are these both items in the book? You just never know sometimes, so I would like that information. And then there's some captions. This is really helpful. I really love the little captions there that say, this is a classic t-shirt fit with just under 2 inches of negative ease of the bust and nearly 4 inches at the waist. Like, that's really handy information. And I think 1 page with all of the patterns on there saying a little description would be really helpful so people know exactly what to expect. Number 4, coherent. Does it stay on point? Does it explain the why when necessary? Is the point clear? Will the reader be able to follow along if they are the intended reader? Yes, I like the simplicity of the book. It's thorough, concise, and references itself occasionally. So if you're reading about a particular step, there will also be a page you can go to for more information if it's necessary or the reader desires to learn more or maybe have a refresher. The explanations are thorough enough that you get all the information without dragging on or being repetitive so you won't lose the point. Number 5, accuracy. Is the content and instruction accurate? Will following the steps lead to the expected outcome? Are any guides, measurements, and included pattern pieces accurate? Definitely. All of the information is good information. Experienced sewists will have opinions on how certain steps are explained or what tools are essential. That's always how sewing is. But those opinions come with experience. There are many ways to do the same sewing step, and the explanations in Sewing the Curve are all excellent ways to execute the steps. I did not test or sew any of the patterns. I read through the instructions, and I am a trained pattern drafter and designer. I would bet my favorite sewing machine that these patterns are thoroughly tested. I know Cashmerette patterns pretty good and have made some of their how-to videos for them. Plus, I have live streamed a few of their patterns for my own use. And they are always well made and thought out. I always advise looking at the hashtags for garments to see them on many bodies to get an idea of how it's fitting. And once people start making the garments from this book, you'll be able to check out these hashtags as they will get more populated and there'll be more results to compare them on other bodies. You can also visit the Cashmerette Instagram accounts to see the garments. Number 6, what sizes are included? Are there finished measurements? Is the intended reader included in the sizing? Are there examples on actual people displaying the fit for each size? The sizes included, like I've said, are 12 to 32 US or 16 to 36 UK. Bust measurements are broken down in cup sizes, which is really awesome. So this is a general range, and I'll put the size chart up on the screen. The bust goes from 40 inches to 62 inches, or 102 centimeters to 157 centimeters. And for the hips, the range is 42 to 62 inches, or 107 to 157 centimeters. All measurements are offered in imperial and metric. There are finished measurements for all the patterns, and Cashmerette has a sizing calculator on their website to help you refine your choice. I think one thing I would have liked to see was the size chart easily found if you were browsing the book in a bookstore. It's on page 33, or if it could have somehow been closer to the pattern envelope or inside the book covers, it could have helped potential readers realize their size is in these patterns. If you're not in the 12 to 32 size range, the Learning to Sew content is still very good, but you may not be able to get the full use from the patterns. Number 7, materials. Are there any included materials to be used with the book content? Are they included in the book? PDF downloads? If they're printed materials, how easy to read are the pattern lines? Does the reader have to scale any patterns? Yes, in fact, the book includes full-size printed patterns with all 11 sizes. It also includes a link to download the PDFs, and you can see here they're very easy to download. For the printed versions included in the book, each style is printed in a color corresponding to the pattern. For example, the Elmley dress is printed in pink and the Randolph skirt is printed in blue. Patterns are printed one on top of the other and on both sides of the paper. So if you don't print the PDF either at home or through a third-party printing service, you will be tracing patterns in order to use them without harming another pattern. And yes, there are instructions in the book on how to trace patterns and print PDFs. The paper is a very nice sturdy paper and they're easy to read, as you can see here. Number 8, visuals. Are diagrams and visuals accurate, easy to comprehend, helpful? Do the visuals add to the book experience in a positive way? Are there enough? The diagrams are very clear, and in some places in the book, there are great examples of a photo of an actual step next to the sketch for that step. So you can kind of get the idea of what a diagram looks like when it's represented in sewing version and as a graphic. Every step is illustrated. And on a side note, there are also videos for each garment and how to sew them. So however you like to learn, there is a visual for you. All right, time for my opinion and my overall impression, experience, and final opinion. Are there things to consider? From the book jacket, did I think the book delivered what it promised? Is the technical information accurate and convey a truthful way to go about sewing and pattern drafting? What is my opinion on the skill level? What are my takeaways, and who do I think would enjoy this book the most? And those questions are kind of generalized, right? I'll start with my negatives since I like ending on a positive note. Not that there are many to mention. Is this the only book you'll ever need to learn to sew? Of course not. And it doesn't say it is, but gosh, if it's the only book you ever get and it's the one you start with, you're going to be set up pretty nicely. I really wish all the patterns were displayed on one page together. It was a little hard to see an image of all 6, and the best way to do that is really to just go to each pattern section. But the book has color-coded edges to make this very easy. It would have been helpful to see the size chart easily too. The first thing I did when I got my copy, after exclaiming how nice it was to look for the patterns and the size chart. I'm a drafter and sewist through and through, and even if I wanted to learn how to sew for the first time, I'm still going to want to know, okay, but what are we making? Neither is hard to find, and hey, you just might fall in love with the book while you're trying to find those things. My only other somewhat critical comment would be that I'm not a fan of using binding as a finish in beginning projects. I strongly believe in ensuring success of new sewers so they come back for more. It's really my only critique, and seriously, these are still skills that are extremely useful in your sewing repertoire, so dive in and learn these things and don't be intimidated by them. Just know that it's okay if it doesn't look great your first few times, and don't forget to clip your curves. Don't hate me, Jenny. I had to come up with something about this gorgeous book. My overall impression is that the book is 100% useful. Note that I didn't say gorgeous. It is gorgeous, but for a learning to sew book, that shouldn't be why you buy it. Sewing the Curve has great instruction, information you'll use for the rest of your sewing life, versatile patterns in your size, and Cashmere is backed by a website filled with more useful information. Not to mention that often their patterns will have interchangeable elements like sleeves, necks, skirts, or similar. There's a ton of useful information on their website for sizing, changing patterns, sewing, and so much more. So if you want a taste of what the book is like without seeing it physically, check out the site and you'll get a good taste of what they're going to offer you. And just a love note to physical books. It's nice not to have to reference everything digitally all the time. I find a book so nice to have as a companion so I don't have hair off in other directions if I go to find a tutorial online and off I go on a tangent. The book is focused, informative, useful, and yes, gorgeous. If you want to learn to sew, get the book. If you like the patterns and you're size 12 to 32, get the book. If you're size 12 to 32 and want to learn to sew, get the book. So the scoring is going to be pretty straightforward. I think you kind of know where this is going to land. I thought this was a very excellent book. So I think for the most part, you know, we're going to be giving it 20s in most of these categories that we went over. Target reader, layout, investment worthy, coherent, and in the technical stuff, you know, accuracy, sizing, materials, visuals. I think like maybe in visuals or layout, maybe I would put the issue for me of like not being able to find the size chart or all 6 of the patterns on like just one page or on the back cover. There's 5 on the back cover, but you know, I couldn't really tell which one was which and which one was missing from the 6. So we'll put it here. We'll just dink it like 5 points, right? Or I mean, we'll dink it 5 points. So for my opinion, I'm going to give it a 35. Mainly, I'm just taking 5 points off because I really am not a huge fan of binding on beginning garments. I think facings are a better way to go, or lining. And I wish I saw the size chart and the patterns all on one page. So that's really only dinking it 10 points overall. So we've got a total of 190 out of 200, clearly making it into the golden all category, which is the highest prize for our book reviews or our little fake trophies. So let me know what you think. What are you making first? And hey, stop by the live stream sometime if you want to hang out with other sewists of all ages and abilities and sizes. I'm Saremy. Thanks for watching. Happy sewing and enjoy your book.